this time I want to talk a little bit about varying the accompaniments, not by just changing registrations, although that will be a part of it, but by doing something else with the harmony sometimes. That can work very well and be very striking and very effective sometimes. The problem is, unless you're quite good at it, it can also sound pretty flipping awful too. If you're not that good at doing it on the spur of the moment, write it out. Sit down and plan it in advance. Buy a book, ready-made last verses. Tiemann, Harris Knoxley, the Royal School of Church Music, various, but they've all published collections. Noel Rawsthorne has a very handy collection of last verse variations, and sometimes what you'll find yourself doing perhaps is, having played those for a while, little fragments of them will start to stick in your head, and you can then use some of those ideas to develop your own. Now, a hymn like Repton has an absolutely splendid tune by Parry, and it really doesn't want very much messing about with. It's probably best kept fairly simple. That was exactly as Parry wrote, although I did decide to solo the melody line, and I can then have a very quiet background accompaniment. That's a useful thing for some verses. We might occasionally get to a verse where we want to do a little bit more. For example, the last verse invites a slightly more dynamic sort of treatment, which might work. Quite a lot of stop changing during the verse, and just the odd touch of a different harmony chord there. Changing them too much, I think, desecrates dear old Parry's tune, so I wouldn't do too much with that. I'm not going to talk about the idea of writing your own, because that's a slightly more advanced topic, and we'll come to that later. One or two little tricks can sometimes work, which is just to add the odd note that wasn't in the tune. Or just bending the melody a little bit at the very end of a line, as I did then, because practice pietatis. The congregation won't even notice that you've deviated from the tune, but it just gives that little bit of a lift to the end of the hymn. Well, that's fine for these sorts of hymns. The next video I'm going to talk a little bit more about worship songs, things that were not written to be accompanied on the organ.